Hello, welcome back to another VOD review. Today we are going to be looking at the talented player AimbotAce. In the previous review we did discuss certain things that they were lacking at. These included their building, which was very minimal, and also their awareness. They weren't being very aware of their surroundings, for the example the storm and other factors like that. So yeah, let's get straight into it. As the match begins, we can immediately see improvement in his awareness. He knows where he wants to land, he marks the location, and that's where he decides to jump. He's already planned out where he wants to go, etc, etc, and this is again a very good improvement because it helps him plan out and know what he needs to do in this match. Starting off strong, we can see AimbotAce already using a key strategy. He looks into the corner where the red sofa is, thinking that'll be a slurp barrel. He saw one downstairs. The reason why he knows this is because he's carried out during a loot path. It's very common in Battle Royale games. During the loot path is commonly used to give players the advantage in combat and aid in their survival. It involves choosing the best path on the map in order to gather resources and weapons quickly and efficiently, and this is something that he's carried out. Here, just before leaving, AimbotAce does look up at the minimap to see if he's in zone or not. However, he notices how his FPS is quite low, so this is where he goes into his setting and changes it. This again shows more evidence of his awareness of GUIs and other things on his screen that help him play the game. Without the use of visual sound effects, he does get stunned upon by a player. However, he builds a wall automatically. The only materials that he does have, edits, clears them out, and defeated. One thing that he should be aware of is that his visual sound effects are not working, and hopefully this is something that he is going to turn on later in the match. Here we can see him hiding, which is a technique called camping. He does go into settings, noticing that his visual sound effects were not on, as he shouldn't have been shocked by that player. He turns them on, which is going to give him the advantage, as he's going to hear footsteps and hear where players are a lot more easily. When leaving, you can see him quickly noticing player. He does build around him and does try and stay on the high ground. He does take a tag from the player, not defending himself. However, he does place a stair and does something called a Mongol Classic. The Mongol Classic technique is when you edit one side of the stair, trapping them in so they can't see anything else around them. This technique is really useful. He also using the visual sound effects, he does notice there's another player walking outside. He chooses to ignore that as he loots up. However, you can now see him hopefully going up to W key once he's at full health. And in this next fight, again, you can just see him trying to defend himself. He's staying behind the roof instead of wasting his materials. He knows that the player is going to have a hard choice in finding him. When the player does decide to retaliate, AimbotAce does build a quick walls around him, just so he doesn't get those tags taken off him. Again, you can see AimbotAce just in the corner, noticing another player. He does build around him, which again he's carrying out on every fight so far. He knows and he's taking this advice on that he needs to start building. He may or may not slip during the match, but so far, after every kill, after these first 3 kills, he has built around him, which shows a lot of improvement in his last VOD review. Another thing that he's improved on is that he does look at the minimap to see where the zone is next. He also stumbles upon another player. He does build around him, just like he's learned. He constantly keeps building around him just so he doesn't get tags taken off him. He knows that this is really good in Fortnite, and he knows to take advantage of all the mechanics that are available to him. Here he is seen picking up the new blades, and these are really good for movement, which is probably one of the reasons why he picked it up. Using these new in-game features and keeping up with the meta helps Fortnite players win the match, as all these things are added in and change the game significantly. Here, with the use of visual sound effects, AimbotAce can spot that there are players fighting in the distance. He uses the kinetic blade at his best ability to try and get there as fast as he can, as he knows that this blade is really good for movement. It does have a cooldown, however, which does make it hard for the player. However, he does spot them and does end up finishing one. He does do something called third partying, which is something you do in Fortnite and can also be implemented in other games. Third partying is when two players are fighting and you choose to get involved to basically have the advantage over both players who are both low and are both concentrating on fighting each other. He again got into another fight, however, using the feedback that I provided last time, he is now just building on every fight, making sure that he's on the high ground. As you can see here, he is editing, and he also does carry out something called piece control, which does make it really hard for the opponent to be able to hit AimbotAce, as he's just editing and confusing them and making sure that he cannot take any damage but only take tags on them. You can see here with the use of visual sound effects, he straight away notices players. He uses the kinetic blade, which he knows is good for movement, to get him over there as fast as possible just to get involved. What AimbotAce is trying to do here is W key. Again, he's got into another fight. He's now carrying out all the builds that he's been told to do. He's building, editing, doing piece control, anything to stop the opponents having any advantage over him. He is again using visual sound effects and the high ground to have advantage on all these players. He third parties two players trying to have a fight. He again third parties another team that are trying to fight. He again was using visual sound effects and the kinetic blade for good movement. He notices that two players are fighting and he decides he wants a third party. He tries to use the kinetic blade to get onto the building, however he does end up falling behind the opponent, which was a surprise attack. Luckily he was not at risk, however if he did land on the top of the building he could build around him, stay on the high ground and stay safe from the opponent. He knows another opponent is in the house. He decides to edit it, do piece control and try and make sure that the opponent does not put any damage onto him. Again, after looting up the chest, you can now see AimbotAce going towards where the visual sound effects are showing him. He can now see that enemies are fighting, and so what he's trying to do here is he's just trying to push and push and push. This is a technique called W keying, and this is the technique that he's going to use, and he's just going to continue pushing every single fight, third-partying players, just so he can get involved and get those kills, and so it can be a quick and easy game. Right off the bat, you can see AimbotAce just building. He's just trying to stay on the high ground. He's taking on the points and comments that we provided in the last VOD review. This is definitely showing improvement in his gameplay because he's going to be in less risky situations and he's not going to take as much damage as he should be usually be taking in these fights. One thing that can be noticed for improvement is that when he tries to get the high ground up here, he does constantly try and edit up above him, which he's seeming to fail about. This is something that he could definitely improve on, and playing edit courses, playing box fights, and just sitting in a blank creative map, practicing his building and edit and his mechanics would definitely help AimbotAce in his next match. Here it really does show how amazing the visual sound effects are. AimbotAce can not really hear, but he can definitely see that there's enemies fighting. He goes towards the edge of the zone. He stays within the zone just so he doesn't get any unnecessary damage taken off him. He does shoot the opponent, kills them off. He did not third party here, however if they were still fighting that would have been third partying. And now he's just removing back into zone, so he's in the clear of taking unnecessary damage. One thing that is good that I can see is that he does pinpoint the storm eye, which does show a lot of improvement from his last VOD review, because the one thing that he did lack in is that he was not concentrating on where the storm was going. He was just trying to focus only on W keying and not on the GUIs that are around him on his screen. He does use visual sound effects and does use it as a very useful tool and uses it effectively to make him better at the game. However, he does not look at the minimap much, and this is something that he has improved in this VOD review compared to the last one. He again is looking at the map. He does see visual sound effects. This is alerting him that the enemy's fighting, and he does want to get involved. He does want to W key as many people as possible, and that's the first thing he does here. When he does get shot at. The first thing he does so he doesn't get tagged is build around him. This is the safest way, and he now maneuvers around the house just to check for it's clear. He does now third party, does kill off one of the players. He does try and just stay on the high ground so he doesn't get shot. He managed to kill the player, taking minimal damage off him as well. Again, with the use of visual sound effects, he edits out of the cone, and using the kinetic blade, he's going to rotate over towards them, just to get involved with every single fight possible so that he can secure highest in this game. He third parties, kills one of the players off easily, knowing that they're low. He then tries his hardest to rotate up. This is called a high ground retake. He probably does need some more practice in this. It's something that he can do in creative mode. However, here he did just kill off the player. He did manage to get onto the high ground effectively. Not at the best ability possible, but he managed to do it, and that's worked effectively for him. Again, more improvement of his awareness is being shown here. This is just great evidence to show that he's listening to the feedback and he's improved from his last VOD review. This is clearly showing how effectively VOD reviews are for players, and he's now just rotating over towards zone. He isn't too worried about building around him or being surrounded because there's only 3 players left, and this game is only about W King for him. So all he really wants is someone to push him in this situation. So that's why he's just driving around, making as much noise as he possibly wants, because there's going to be no punishment for him. However, there could still be surprise attacks. Here, AimbotAce is using something that a lot of players do use in a comp version of Fortnite. This is where you do hold edit above the cone and you can see through the cone. Not to a high extent, but you can still see through the cone without damage being taken off you in any sort of way. This is what he's done here. He's got the high ground, he's built in metal, something strong. And he's now just looking around the cone, staying inside, staying safe without any surprise attacks happening to him. This is a great way to affect being hit at all. For some reason he does start shooting at the building. I think he's just trying to get players to come push him, even though there's only 2 left. This is a great way, however, because there might be people camping in the house, and what he's trying to do here is break away their ability to camp, which will make it a lot easier for him to push them and kill them. Using those new situational awareness skills, he does now use the kinetic blade to get over to zone, which is near a shipment. He is confused where the other opponent is, however the opponent was not where he was originally staying, where he built high ground. The player was also not at the shipment and not at the island. AimbotAce is definitely confusing the situation, and he uses metal to build up into the high ground to stay safe from the opponent. When rotating over to zone, he does just stay on the high ground, and he's learning to just stay there and not try and get below or anything, because if he just stays safe in the high ground, nothing can really happen to him. He does end up spotting the player just swimming around. This is 231 west. He does take a few tags on the player as the player is unable to build around him. AimbotAce just continues staying on the high ground, maneuvering over to this player, just taking constant little tags on the player until they end up dying. AimbotAce does make a mistake, does drop down. This was not intentional. He just does in a panic try and get the high ground, however he is stuck from swimming. He does get the victory royale. Easy kill right there. At the end you can see his player XP, but not only that, when he does click on the statistics you can also see how many kills and how many resources and other things he's used, and I can use this to compare from the first and second match to show how well he has improved in his building